Here we have Hank for exercise select doing 1 1/4 barbell back squats. We're going to loop through this a few times, give you a good chance to take a look at it as well as describe it. Best tempos applied for this would probably be to 3 to 4 or even 5-second lowering, depending upon the eccentric work that you wanted to do for the individual for metabolic purposes or positioning or whatnot. The total repetitions, I would, in most cases, for a lot of people who are trained and do it correctly with correct tension, I'd say most times sit over 30 seconds. So 30 to 60, 70 seconds for total time under tension within the set for 1 1/4 squat is a really effective way of getting after what you're trying to get with the 1 1/4 squat, really. So if you try to think about it, why do the quarter at the bottom? We're just trying to overload a specific movement and a pattern of movement that needs some working on. And Hank is a person that needs patterning of that movement, just lacking in dorsiflexion as well as being very hip dominant in a lot of movements. This would be for someone who you really want to focus on, creating usage of the quads in that really the VMO and the glute. So when the knee is at maximal knee flexion, which he almost gets to, a couple of times, when it's at maximal knee flexion, that VMO, which is the quad muscle just inside the kneecap on the medial side and that teardrop at the bottom, that guy as well as the bum at that maximal hip flexion and knee flexion just works really hard. So the idea behind a 1 1/4 squat is to really just overload those two guys in a movement. And then it has to be loaded appropriately. In most cases, the load that's used is like 40 to 50 something percent of someone's max back squat. Obviously that changes relative to the neuromuscular efficiency and the training age. Obviously this is also going to be someone appropriate who can back squat. I would in most cases only be doing this with people who have great depth in squat, as well as those who can back squat their body weight and they're getting up to that point in time, as well as they've built a number of repetition sequencing for the squat itself. Of course, all things being equal, you want great form the whole time, a good low back position, neutral as much as possible based upon what we're trying to get with Hank is range of motion, him learning the exercise. So it's not really a loading set for him. So he's going to get a little break in his lumbar spine with the movement just for teaching purposes. But if people are going to be doing it with you, try to keep that lumbar spine intact, get great depth so that you really can fire that VMO and glute at that time, keeping the knees tracking over that second toe and focus on correct tension the whole time. And it's one thing I do want to mention with the people, or individuals doing the 1 1/4 back squat in relation to tension. You don't want to bounce out of the bottom. It doesn't mean that bouncing 1 1/4 squats are not beneficial for someone who's weightlifting or doing, speed strength activities. It's just for the purpose of doing it in accumulation, which is generally where the 1 1/4 squat occurs. In best practices, it's best done with keeping tension the whole time. So I've asked him to start slowing down the eccentric, and you can see on his reps, he actually controls that little 1 1/4 position a little better every time. So the cue for people out of the bottom is to use their bum and quads to get out of the bottom, and then to keep tension on those areas as they come all the way up. And this can also be done with other movements, but the 1 1/4 for that kind of volume and time under tension for the person will really take care of developing some good metabolic training for the quad and glute muscle working together in that patterning, and then put that into the training for the right person. You'll get a good effect from that.